on First at 9 this Sunday, the 9th of June 2024. First since Nehru, Narendra Modi is sworn in as India's Prime Minister for a historic third term. President Ranil Wickremesinghe among the invitees of the swearing-in ceremony. To the rescue, government to support restoring residences affected by inclement weather, says the President's Chief of Staff. The democratic step, government to present a vote on account instead of a budget for next year, reveals the State Minister of Finance. Opportunities abroad, government to introduce a 25% job quota in Sri Lanka's foreign employment program for war veterans.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singh joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now taking you straight to your top story this evening. Turning a new chapter in regional politics, Narendra Modi was sworn in as India's Prime Minister for a third consecutive term this evening. Narendra Modi, the 15th Prime Minister of India, will be only the second leader after India's independence hero and its first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, to hold office for 3 consecutive terms. Following his swearing-in ceremony, several BJP parliamentarians, including Dr. S. Jayashankar and Nirmala Sitharaman, both of whom played a crucial role in supporting Sri Lanka during its economic crisis in 2022, were sworn in as ministers. The swearing-in ceremony saw the participation of several regional leaders, including Sri Lanka's head of state, President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The Indian general election, also dubbed the Lok Sabha election, is considered to be the world's biggest election. This year, the Lok Sabha election commenced on the 19th of April to elect 543 members of the Lok Sabha or House of the People, which is the lower house of India's bicameral parliament. The election, which was held in 7 phases over 6 weeks until the 1st of June, saw voters' registration of almost 1 billion people. According to official results announced on the 4th of June, India's incumbent Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party garnered 240 seats, but fell 32 seats short in the 543-member lower house of parliament to establish simple majority. The result marked the end of the BJP's decade-long dominance in Indian politics. However, other parties including Janata Dal and the Telugu Desam Party of the National Democratic Alliance, the alliance under which the BJP also contested, expressed their support for Prime Minister Modi in forming the government, helping him bring 293 seats under his banner and establishing majority in the Lok Sabha. The Indian Congress-led opposition alliance, however, was only able to claim 232 votes. With the victory claimed by Modi, he became the first Indian Prime Minister to secure a third consecutive term after former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Leaders from several countries, including neighbouring Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Mauritius, Seychelles and the Maldives, were invited by the Indian government to attend the historic swearing-in ceremony as a part of India's Neighbourhood First policy. President Ranil Wickremesinghe arrived in India this morning to attend the swearing-in ceremony of the Indian Prime Minister. He was welcomed at the airport by Additional Secretary P. Kumaran of the Indian Ministry of External Affairs.
Good afternoon. My name is Anand.
The swearing-in ceremony of the Indian Prime Minister commenced this evening at the Rashtrapati Bhavan with the participation of thousands of guests, including heads of states of the countries in the region.
कहा जाता है
बॉलीवुड के दिग्गज अभिनेता अक्षय कुमार, फिल्मी जगत के नामचीन सितारे शाहरुख खान इस समारोह में शामिल हो रहे हैं और जैसा कि हमने शुरू में ही बताया था कि फिल्मी जगत की कई नामचीन हस्तियां.
Prime Minister Modi arrived at the Rashtrapati Bhavan following the arrival of the regional heads of state.
इस ऐतिहासिक समारोह में उत्तर प्रदेश के वाराणसी से बतौर सांसद तीसरी बार चुनकर आए हैं. देशवासियों का अटूट भरोसा, अपार जन समर्थन, आत्मीय स्नेह है और पिछले 10 वर्षों में नरेंद्र मोदी ने अपने कुशल और बेहतरीन नेतृत्व से ये दिखाया है.
शब्दों में अब क्या कहें, जो उत्साह है, सबका आभार स्वीकार करते हुए नवनिर्वाचित प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी
नए भारत का सृजन करने.
At 7:15 p.m., Narendra Modi was sworn in as the Prime Minister of India.
प्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Less sugar, same great taste. From Melbourne.
Now back here in Sri Lanka, severe flooding and landslides triggered by the prevailing incessant monsoon rains displaced more than 200,000 people across 14 districts in the country. Against this backdrop, President's senior advisor on national security and chief of presidential staff Sagala Ratnayaka claims that officials were instructed to act according to the new circulars while providing relief to the people affected by the inclement weather. As adverse weather continues to persist, inconveniencing the public, the Department of Meteorology forecasts intermittent rainfall to continue in parts of the country during the upcoming week.
The stretch of the Colombo-Kandy main road in the lower Kadugannawa region, which was closed last evening, was open for traffic this morning. However, the Disaster Management Centre advised motorists to exercise caution while driving in the area, as conditions may still be hazardous. The section of the Colombo-Kandy main road was closed as such in the lower Kadugannawa area to remove trees and rocks along the route, which posed a threat to human lives. Meanwhile, 3 fishermen of the Mirissa Fisheries Harbour drowned at sea last evening when their boat capsized due to strong gusty winds. Following the incident, the fishermen were rushed to the Waligama District Hospital for immediate treatment. As the inclement weather patterns continue on, 286,115 people in 75,561 families remain affected so far. 77 residences across 14 districts of the country were completely destroyed owing to the adverse weather conditions, while 6,781 residences were partially damaged. The Disaster Management Centre reports revealed that 1,736 individuals belonging to 441 families are currently being housed in 38 relief centres in the country. Against this backdrop, President's senior advisor on national security and chief of presidential staff Sagala Ratnayaka joined an observation tour in the Kaduwel area today to inspect the current situation of the people affected by floods in the area.
Relevant authorities were advised on effective measures and provide support in resettling the displaced in their households. Relief will be provided to clean up surroundings, minimize or prevent the spread of diseases, and to restore the residences of the affected. These measures will be implemented under the directives of President Ranil Wickremesinghe to address the concerns of the public affected by the disaster.
The Department of Meteorology forecasts intermittent rainfall in parts of the country during the coming week.
Rains can occur from time to time in the western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts tomorrow. This situation is expected to persist next week as well, particularly in the southwestern part of the country.
Considering the uptick in torrential rains and inclement weather patterns, the National Building Research Organisation issued warnings for several localities which are under the risk of possible landslides. Meanwhile, in its most recent efforts to support the nation during these turbulent times, TV Derana's corporate social responsibility arm Manusab Derana joined hands with Dialogue Asiata PLC to provide relief to families and individuals who were impacted by floods. Accordingly, dry rations and essential items were provided to those affected by floods in the Anguruwathutte area in Bandaragama and Kotugoda in Jayal area.
මැලිබන් කිර නිෂ්පාදන මිලදීගෙන මරණයට කැපූ කිරිගවයෙන් නිදහස් කර ගැනීමට ඔබත් දායක වන්න.
Now, the government has decided to institute a 25% job quota in Sri Lanka's foreign employment program for retired veterans and members of war hero families. State Minister of Defence Pramita Bandara Tennakon revealed that decision to the public during a program organised by the Sri Lanka Army at the Sri Lanka Army Infantry Training Centre in Mineria. At the event, Minister Tennakon also claimed that the government has decided to bring the previously hiked interest rates on loans obtained by veterans and their families to current market rates.
A program organised by the Sri Lanka Army to look into the welfare and administrative affairs of retired or medically retired military personnel and their families was held yesterday at the Sri Lanka Army Infantry Training Centre in Mineria with the participation of State Minister for Defence Pramita Bandara Tennakon. This program is currently being held in all regions of the island by the Sri Lanka Army Veterans Services and Rehabilitation Directorate.
We have received complaints regarding the interest on loans previously obtained by war veterans and their families, which have not been reduced to match the rates in the market at the moment. We discussed the matters with the State Minister of Finance and the Chairman of the Bank of Ceylon. Accordingly, we will take steps to reduce the interest rates charged on loans obtained by veterans and their families to match the current market rates. Furthermore, we have successfully managed to allocate 25% of all foreign employment opportunities to the Triforces personnel of Sri Lanka.
Furthermore, according to an official statement issued by the Ministry of Defence, the first group of the Foreign Employment Programme for Triforces personnel will leave for Israel at the end of this month. State Minister Tennakon also revealed plans to negotiate with the relevant authorities to provide land for retired veterans who wish to start business ventures in the future.
Sri Lanka has been elected by the United Nations General Assembly to the United Nations Economic and Social Council at the elections held in New York recently on the 7th of June 2024 for a 3-year term commencing on the 1st of January 2025. Sri Lanka obtained 182 votes of the 189 member states present and voting, securing the second highest vote count from the region and the 7th highest number overall. The 18 countries that were elected to the 54 member states of the ECOSOC, including Uzbekistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Saudi Arabia from the Asia-Pacific region. As a member of the United Nations Economic and Social Council, Sri Lanka is slated to contribute to the Council's efforts and programs, which include eradication of poverty, food security, financing for development, reform of the international financial architecture to better support vulnerable countries, and many more. The election to the ECOSOC is Sri Lanka's 4th consecutive success at the multilateral election, marking a significant milestone for the nation's diplomatic engagement led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs as well as its overseas diplomatic missions. Sri Lanka was previously elected to the ECOSOC from 1985 to 1989 and also from 2006 to 2008. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa claims that under a Samagi Jana Balawegaya government, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution will be implemented. Addressing a gathering in Kilinochchi, the opposition leader went on to state that political leaders give false hopes to different communities in the country with the selfish motive of securing more votes.
The 225th edition of the Sakwala program was held at the Bharati Vidyalayam in Kilinochchi under the patronage of opposition leader Sajith Premadasa.
Some people whose only intention is winning elections go to some areas and claim that Sinhala will be prioritized. At the same time, in other regions, they say Tamil will be prioritized. They do that to secure the votes of the Tamil people in those areas. While other leaders keep lying all around the country, we have clearly stated that we will implement the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. We made that statement to all citizens in all 9 provinces of the country. We will not be afraid to implement 13th Amendment. Whenever we discuss the 13th Amendment, some leaders look away. Some turn a deaf ear to it. Some try to change the topic. Some are afraid, while others feel ashamed. Those are opportunistic politicians.
Now, meanwhile, leader of the National People's Power, Andrew Kumara Dissanayake, alleges that former director of the Criminal Investigation Department, Shani Abesekara, as well as retired senior DIG Ravi Senaviratne, are being threatened by the government as well as the opposition. Addressing a gathering in Maharagama, retired Senior Deputy Inspector General of the Police, Ravi Senaviratne, revealed that certain parties attempted to threaten him with serious consequences if he allied himself with the NPP.
A rally of the retired police collective of the National People's Power was held at the National Youth Services Council in Maharagama today under the patronage of NPP leader Anurukumara Dissanayaka.
Several parties tried to influence us. We were threatened with serious consequences if we took to politics. All of us are aware of the destruction caused by the Easter Sunday attack. We believe that there is a conspiracy behind that attack. Shani Abesekara, who is on stage right now, was in charge of investigating that attack. They took revenge against him because he was honest. He was demoted as well. He was placed under police custody for 11 months. This is the fate of an officer who acted independently in this country.
Though we are meeting here today, we would have met each other at the Lipton roundabout earlier. We would have also met each other in front of the Fort Railway Station. While we were protesting with placards in hand, you may have had buttons and canisters of tear gas in yours. However, we are gathered here today to take on a responsibility which transcends all other duties. I am aware that Ravi Senaviratne was pressured not only by the government but also by the opposition. He was requested, urged and forced not to address an NPP gathering on certain occasions. I urge Sagara Ratnayaka to not engage in such deplorable actions. Sajith Premadas's preferences are immaterial. Please remember that. I ask both Sagala and Sajith why make such threats. Ravi Senaviratne is a former DIG of our Criminal Investigation Department. Shani Abesekara is a former director of the Criminal Investigation Department. Both parties are well aware of their past actions. They are brave people.
56 train trips were cancelled this morning as a result of the Locomotive Operating Engineers Union strike action, which continued for the third consecutive day today. The Locomotive Operating Engineers Union threatened to cancel more train trips tomorrow if their concerns remain unaddressed by the authorities.
The trade union action of the Locomotive Operating Engineers Union commenced at midnight on the 6th of June over delays in second-class promotions of locomotive drivers and several other reasons. Although locomotive drivers of only 2 out of 5 railway running sheds have joined this trade union action, it has brought the operation of power set trains to a complete halt. Due to the cancellation of 56 train trips, passengers were inconvenienced today. Meanwhile, the Locomotive Operating Engineers Union asserted that they had not heard back from the authorities yet.
It's been 3 days since we started this trade union action. The relevant authorities have not intervened so far. Of course, our demands are fair. We have pointed our issues which have to be resolved definitely. We have not made any unfair demands. We need locomotive drivers to operate trains. We are simply urging them to recruit drivers. If the department is not up to that task, what is the purpose of the railway department? Yes, it will have a huge impact. A lot of train trips are expected to be cancelled tomorrow. If authorities attempt to implement temporary fixes to address these issues, we will bring in the remaining running sheds and begin a complete strike. If it happens, this problem will much worse.
However, speaking to Derana, a spokesperson of the Ministry of Transport stated that a complaint regarding the strike action is expected to be made to the Criminal Investigation Department. According to the spokesperson, the complaint will be filed considering reports that the trade union action was instituted with the intention of inconveniencing the government. As tensions simmer between the public, the railway authorities and the trade unions, Additional General Manager of Railways V.S. Polvattage spoke to Derana and revealed that a discussion with the trade unionists will be held tomorrow, chaired by the Minister of Transport and Highways, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena.
And now let's take a look at some local news in brief.
A 31-year-old Ugandan national who attempted to smuggle 450 grams of cocaine into the country was arrested at the Bandaranaike International Airport today. By the time the Police Narcotics Bureau arrested the suspect, he had already swallowed the cocaine capsules before touching down in Sri Lanka. The suspect was later admitted to the Negombo hospital where 14 of the 45 capsules were extracted. Dulapitiya police, meanwhile, arrested an individual who transported an elephant tusk pearl from Anuradhapura to Dulapitiya. The suspect disclosed during interrogation that the elephant tusk pearl was intended to be sold for 6 million rupees. In other local news, residents of Piliyandala and Maharagama protested at Arawala this morning, requesting a solution to the long-standing issue of inundation in the area during the monsoons.
Welcome back. Now, State Minister of Finance Ranjit Sembalapitiya revealed the government's plan to present a vote on account instead of a budget proposal for 2025. In a press briefing in Ruanwala, the State Minister said that the decision was taken to ensure continuity in governance by providing funds for routine expenditures and essential government functions until a government assumes office, as a presidential election is expected in this year. He also added that through a vote on account, the government plans to provide the necessary space for the incoming president and the government to put their manifestos into action next year.
That is true. On numerous similar occasions in the past, the government has presented votes on account. I remember it happened in 2019 as well. As we know, by passing the 2024 budget, the Parliament has approved expenses until the 31st of December 2024. We need to get Parliament's approval for 2025 separately. But this is an election year. There is going to be a presidential election. During this time, the most important document is the policy manifesto of each contestant. The crucial factor in implementing the policies outlined in those manifestos is the budget. Therefore, to give all candidates some room to work with, we intend to pass a vote on account for the first 3 or 4 months of 2025. The vote on account will allow the allocation of funds for various expenditures as it is done at the moment. This is a democratic exercise which grants each candidate some space to implement their policies. The new president and the new government will have the time to pass a budget for that year. But through that budget, expenses approved in the vote on account must be included. There is no place in the world where a vote on account has been defeated. Passing a vote on account is considered to be an exercise of democracy. Usually, the opposition needs a vote on account more than the government.
The Ceylon Chamber of Commerce welcomed the long-awaited electricity bill, which was approved by Parliament of Sri Lanka, marking a significant milestone in public sector reform. The CCC hails this decision as a courageous and transformative step forward for the nation's electricity sector. The Chamber of Commerce further commended the government as well as the Parliament for their visionary leadership in passing a crucial piece of legislation as such. The CCC considers this a significant step towards modernizing Sri Lanka's electricity sector, ensuring a reliable and efficient supply of electricity as well as fostering a more competitive market environment. Meanwhile, the Chamber also raised concerns of the transfer of certain powers to an advisory council appointed by the Minister, which can potentially undermine the role of the regulator, resulting in concerns about the independence and effectiveness of regulatory oversight. CCC also suggested a clear demarcation of roles where the Advisory Council focuses on policy development while the regulator retains its regulatory powers. Further, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce stated that the entity remains committed to working with all stakeholders to ensure the successful implementation of reforms and to address any challenges that may arise. And now let's take a look at some corporate news in brief.
Chairman of RIL Property PLC, S.G. Vijay Singh, has stated that the organisation remains firmly committed to embedding environmental, social and governance principles into the core of the long-term strategy of the company and asserted that the entity has embarked on a journey prioritizing ESG initiatives. In its annual report, Vijay Singh added that a robust ESG strategy is currently being developed by the company as it is crucial for long-term success. The chairperson further went on to say that United Motors, a key subsidiary, will focus on securing electric vehicle distribution agency this year. Meanwhile, in its annual report for the financial year 2023-2024, Chairman of United Motors Lanka PLC, Devaka Kure, said that the company pursued a strategic trajectory focused on diversification and reduced dependence on sectors vulnerable to regulatory shifts. The company chairman highlighted that the company goal lies with cultivating sustainable and innovative business practices, driving progress and resilience across their operations. Further, Kure remained steadfast in their efforts to enhance operational efficiencies and pursue sustainable business practices which strengthen their competitive position, foster long-term growth. In other corporate news, PickMe Sri Lanka joined hands with PhonePe, India's fintech company, to enable seamless UPI-based QR payments for Indian travellers in Sri Lanka. The partnership signifies a step forward in enhancing the travel experience through the convenience of cashless transactions on PickMe rides right from the moment they exit the Bandaranaike International Airport. The enabling of such cashless transactions also boosts the local economy while providing a convenient travel method for travellers.
That's all the news for tonight. Thank you.